Y'all ready to be history?
Get started.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
To the Pro Audio Suite.
These guys are professional. They're motivated.
With Tech to the VO stars. George Whittam, founder of Source Elements. Robert Marshall, international audio engineer. Darren Robbo Robertson and Global Voice. Andrew Peters, thanks to Tribooth. Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Source Elements. George the Tech Whittam. And Robbo and AP's international demos. To find out more about us, check theproaudiosuite.com.
Line up, ladies!
Here we go.
Another week without AP, but welcome to the Pro Audio Suite. Thanks to Austrian Audio, making passion heard. This is where we do miss Andrew, I'll be honest, but there you go. It's about the only time in the show we miss Andrew, really, is someone to do the intro.
It's kind of worth something, I think. Yeah.
We certainly love to dish on him when he's not here.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
Poor
A lot
old
of people
Andrew.
will miss his dulcet tones, I'm sure.
We're just jealous, that's all.
I know. So listen, I had a quick little one that I thought was worth bouncing around this week. A couple of weeks ago, I was invited, which I was kind of chuffed about for the first time ever, to have a chat to a bunch of aspiring voiceover artists who were doing a voiceover course in Perth in Western Australia. And I'd been talking about building a studio and how, aiming for the perfect room in a home studio is kind of impossible and probably not the benchmark really anyway. That, I'm kind of happy for you to send me stuff that's not quite perfect as long as you've done everything you can, and I can deal with that. And because I was talking about, please don't use plugins, please don't use gates, just send me the raw audio. And at the end, when I was taking questions, one of the kids made a really good point. It's like, well, what is acceptable? So it's sort of like, and I guess for a newbie, that's a really good question, because if you're just starting out and you're building your home studio, what am I listening for? What is acceptable? What's not acceptable?
I'll take a stab a little bit at this.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's any one like this. There's a line, this is acceptable and this isn't. But I do think you want to look at what are the most important things to fix first. Okay. Actually, these days, it is less an issue of noise and more an issue of reflections. Even though there's AI that can get rid of reflections and stuff, it's not awesome. So if you can get the room to be dead and neutral first. Next thing I think is deal with the noise, whatever it is, the humming of the refrigerator or trying to isolate stuff from the outside. And those are the primary things. I'm assuming that you're starting with a decent mic. So let's make the assumption that you're starting with a mic and a preamp that if put in the proper room, those aren't mitigating factors and you're just dealing purely with the room. Then I think you first deal with reflections and you secondarily deal with noise.
I guess we should preface that with my talk to them was about setting up a room was, all the stuff we've always talked about, find the quietest room in your house. If you've got a walk-in wardrobe that's in the middle of the house, that's better than a bedroom that's got a window to the outdoors and, all this sort of stuff. And I said to them, you don't want the most expensive mic, but you probably don't want the cheapest mic. We'd had that sort of conversation. But I think you're right. I mean, my answer to him was sort of anything that you hear that you think shouldn't be there really is what you want to try and get rid of. And the louder it is, the worse it is,
Yeah, but it also depends on how you get rid of stuff.
That's right.
Like using a Chaotica eyeball to get rid of reflections.
I use that as an example.
Is like, we cured you, but we killed you.
That's right. Exactly.
So,
Well, we should say why, This product exists. Somebody made a $200 foam ball, marketed the hell out of it, got some big artists to use it, so then everybody else wants to buy one. Good for them.
yeah, but
Why was that invented in the first place? What problem was it actually trying to solve?
So
What's
it was
supposed
trying to
do?
get rid of room reflections. I believe it was its primary thing. I don't think the Chaotica eyeball was necessarily selling isolation. It was trying to deal with a better version of the reflection filters. And I'll give it this, like most reflection filters in some way compromise the sound of the microphone. They usually in some way make it tubby and weird, muffy sounding, but man, the Chaotica eyeball takes the prize on making the mic sound tubby and muffy. And
I was going to say that mic that does a similar thing. It does actually change the sound of the mic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And it's like you can kind of EQ your way out of that sort of. But at the same time, I don't think that the chaotic eyeball gets rid of the worst ones in the room when you're looking at reverb, and it's the super short room reflections, the bounce right off the wall, and those things you can't separate. A long tail reverb, you can start to diminish it and cut around it, and AI is pretty good at getting rid of that stuff. But those short, super close reflections, it's really hard to separate that from the actual signal that you do want. And
it's almost a phasey sound, isn't it? It's almost it's so tight, it's almost phasey.
It creates what's called a comb filter. So like when you have waves that are piling on top of each other, they're called, in a small space, it's called a room mode. So when you have modes, that's like the room is resonating like an instrument at specific frequencies based on its size. So you can't get away with that. I mean, you can't get away from it. There's always going to be modes. So all we can do is try to control them the best that we can. If we don't, and we're really unlucky, the mic will end up in an antinode, which is where two of those sounds hit each other and resonate together.
And then right next to it, they resonate opposite. So you get a spike in one place and a huge dip in the other one. And that's why they call it comb filtering, because you get a whole series of those, and your waveform spectrum looks like
and cutting frequencies arbitrarily. It's not arbitrary. It's based on the room size, but it's all throughout. And it's really hard to go in and EQ those out. And I've done it many times. I've tried my best, but it's very hard to solve multiples of those. So you can sometimes find one or two that really stand out, but it's really hard to get rid of them well. And so that's one of the biggest problems that we haven't solved well yet. There's lots of plugins that are trying to do it, but it's a pain. And once you sound like you're in a box, you just always kind of sound like you're in a box. And
exactly.
then, clients will eventually get used to it, or they'll be like, well, it's good enough. It's fine. But the difference between sounding like a decent amateur and a real pro is when you can make your booth not sound like it's a box, right? That's a biggie. And how to do that, there's a lot of ways to do it, but it's not that straightforward. And a lot of the companies that make the products themselves don't know how to do it. Like the booths
or
the
products themselves create more problems, even though they get rid of the big obvious one. I don't hear the long tail, but you've now just like ripped your sound into a giant comb sounding thing. And
so I keep going back to do your best to get rid of coloring your sound. And what's hard for people, if they don't know what they should sound like, they don't have a reference. So unless you've gotten lucky enough to get recorded properly, you've gotten to go to a studio and record it. And
I'll give you a way of finding out what it sounds like.
People will go to these studios and then think the reason they sound like that is they think it's because they're talking into a $3,000 U87 plugged into a Focusrite whatever channel strip. They think it's because they're in a studio with $1 million studio. I'm like, no, it's because the room that you're standing in is 12 feet ceiling. It's this massive space.
So here's what I was going to say, George. Like, you can't get into a room like that, but you can if you're lucky enough to live in a place that has one of those moments where you're outside, but it sounds dead quiet. I've had this before, being on a mountain, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the sound. There's nothing around you for miles.
Snow on the ground, too.
There's just, right. So then you sound like there's nothing that your voice is interacting with except for the voice goes out and it never bounces back. And that's the sound of nothing messing with it. If you want to try to hear it yourself, if you can find a quiet place outside, go record yourself and see how that sounds.
Hike someplace, go out in the mountains. And if you have the thought, close your eyes and stop and just listen. And then have someone talk to you, or your friend, your wife, whatever, starts talking. Listen to what that sounds like. That is a room devoid of reflections and reverb and echo and resonance. So that's the hard part to do. So you have to start to learn about what that sounds like. And then when you start learning what it sounds like, then you start going, oh, geez, if I get a little closer to the mic, that seems to go away. But if I get too close to the mic, then it sounds kind of
like
weird.
This.
I'm in someone's head. Like, that's weird too. That's what's weird about mic technique, because it's not the difference between the different sound you get by changing your mic position is drastic when you only move it a few inches. And the closer you are to the mic, the less you have to make a change to make a bigger difference.
Well, because
Right?
it's
more
all in
sensitive.
ratio.
Yeah. So if you have to work your mic 4 inches away to get a good sound, you're now stuck in that sweet spot. That is where you get to play 4 inches from the mic. It's pretty
Or-
restrictive. It's hard, right?
And depending on the mic you have, that 4-inch
Yes.
spot is like a 416, very narrow spot,
It's
a wider
small,
cardioid.
like the size of a baseball. Maybe that's your play zone. It's small. So the better your booth is, the better it sounds, the more you can physically move around. Not just because the space is bigger, but because acoustically it's bigger. And now you can physically move back from the mic. And when you move back from the mic, now you can physically move around the mic and the sound doesn't get weird.
And you can play the mic better. You can
play-
use the different sounds that the mic gives you to kind of lean in a bit and then lean out and have a natural sound. And if it's really good, you can even use the booth to be able to sometimes, if you're like, hey, honey, I'm coming over home, and then you come up and in a really well-tuned booth, you can almost fake distance. But in a bad booth, you get off the mic and you hear the booth. In a good booth, you get off the mic and you hear just distance or like
It's
off.
particularly tough for video game actors, and a lot of video game work is done remotely nowadays.
Yep.
So a lot of them are working from home, and it's probably the most demanding kind of voiceover you can do at home, right? I mean, it's physically demanding. You're dying 1,000
Yeah.
different ways. You're screaming, you're all sorts of crazy stuff, and you're trying to make it sound natural inside a booth that's 4 by 4 feet.
So, George, what's your opinion of this? I was just having lunch with a friend of mine who's a very successful voice actor, and he's moving houses, and he's like, should I get a booth? And I was like, actually, I know this George Whittam who's got a Studio Bricks, and he's like, he was actually thinking about it and this and that. But, and not to not sell your booth for you, but I was like, you really got to look at this because you're going to spend the same money in a booth that you can move that sounds not great if you just hire a guy for a long weekend and get a whole lot of drywall and some metal studs and you build the booth that you want and know you can't take it with you, but it's going to be the booth that you want. And the only price difference is that you can't take it with you. And I would argue that sometimes you don't even want to take that booth with you because they're a pain in the ass to move and they're heavy and they're going to cost you money in the end to store it when you can't move it to where
I
you
get
need
this
it.
conversation on a regular basis. I talk people out of building things. I talk people into building things, because I'll find out all these details. I mean, we're in a market in LA right now where getting anything built is going to be really hard because right now we're trying to rebuild thousands of homes that burned
All the
a
carpenters.
year and a half ago. So it's kind of a hard time. But I mean, going back to the crux of the conversation really is hardest thing to do is to learn what you're supposed to sound like. And that takes time and practice. That takes coaching. That takes people like us to give you feedback. That takes listening to yourself recorded correctly, right? Have a reference. All those things matter.
And it
But
takes
the noise
understanding that it's
level-
not equipment a lot of the times. It's the equipment is the difference between $10,000 equipment and $500 equipment is probably less than 10% of the sound quality difference.
Yeah, I mean, AP wouldn't like you to say that because he prides himself on using, the best of the gear that's available, and that's fine. It's like I can liken it to wine. There's very good tasting cheap wine, and there's some very expensive good tasting wine, and there's some very expensive not very good tasting wine,
And it all gets you drunk.
Yeah, and it all gets drunk. So it's like if you don't have a taste for it and you don't know what to listen for, as long as the other person who you're working with says you sound good for our job, it's probably good enough. I will also caution that where I get clients who send me a sound check and go, I just want to check because I never get complaints. I do book, and yet I'm still concerned. And then I'll listen to the audio and go, yeah, you know what? It could be a lot better if you would just do this. Right. And so a lot of people, even at a certain level, have never gotten feedback, really critical feedback. They just never have.
I'll give you another aspect that drives me crazy as an engineer, which is, okay, you got a booth that's noisy or you got a booth that's quiet, but you do a long session. This is the worst with like audiobooks and things like that, and your sound changes. This thing in the background is turning on and off, and the noise floor changes. Or if you're not consistent with your placement, after an hour of reading, you don't realize that you've changed from here to here.
Yeah.
That is so annoying to have to chase down and try to make consistent after the fact. Even with
please,
flaws.
whatever it is, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah,
right?
even with flaws. Make it consistent,
just
flawed.
keep it consistently flawed, right? Your engineer will thank you.
Yes.
That is so much more important than it varying from good to bad. And I will also talk about mic gain settings. I will say I would much rather anybody record themselves at much too low of a level
Leave it low.
than to do some stuff loud, some stuff soft. Oh, now I'm going to do the loud lines. Now I'm going to do the quiet lines and mess with the gain. I don't think that's a good idea for the actor
Just
to do that.
Keep the preamp low, record it 24-bit, let the math work in your favor, because it does.
It does. Like, I rarely will get a file from someone that's coming in, say, under minus 20 peak or something that is unusable.
Yeah.
Almost never.
Correct.
I'll always tell them, yes, you could record a little hotter. I like to see it between minus 12 and minus 6 for peaks. It doesn't need to be. It's fine. Just don't clip. That's really the big thing. So, so those are the things that are really important to all of us. And do everything you can to stop random noises from ruining takes. But we all know you're in home studios, and it is, you do the best you can.
Yep.
And we know that we can edit it out later.
Have the right shirt. Don't wear your
there's a good
plastic button-up shirt that sounds like
nothing at all synthetic, nothing leather.
No,
especially if you're one of the
definitely
voice
not.
actors that's very animated, like how the actors are who sometimes move their hands a lot.
yeah.
And it's like, man, it's like everything's like I'm not even wearing the clothes to do it, but man, that's annoying.
I had a client just the other day. I was helping her out in her studio. She's got a lot of years in radio, but not voiceover. And she would clasp her hands and talk with
Bracelets.
She would gesture.
Oh, God.
Well, yeah, not even bracelets, just like clasping her hands, moving her hands, sort of like doing this motion. And she's on a TLM 103. And I'm like, I'm hearing every time you do that. You're going to have to sit on your hands, or you're going to have to just put a Post-it note that says,
Put your hands
"Don't
in the
touch your-"
pocket. Yeah.
If you have long hair, sometimes your hair on your shoulders and you move, and it can do that.
Really?
I've had that.
Wow, I've never had that one.
I've had someone who had just the right hair length and the right shirt, and just turning their head side to side, and you'd hear it every time they turned their
A
head.
little whoosh, little swoosh.
Yeah.
Swoosh.
There you go. What mic was that on, just out of interest?
That was the VIP 50 at another country where I worked at, which was a MyLab VIP 50. If you know,
That's just a really nice condenser.
it's a rectangular diaphragm condenser. So supposedly the small width is the best of a small diaphragm, and the long side is the best of a large diaphragm, and whatever resonances, no resonances, I don't know. The MyLabs all had rectangular diaphragms, and that was their thing. And it's a good mic. I mean, it is a very cool mic.
You never hear about them anymore, but I mean, they're around,
AP.
right?
Oh, look who's decided to turn up.
Yes.
And
it is-
welcome
it
to
is
the
I.
Pro Audio Suite.
Who did the intro?
Mate, they've been stuck with me doing it.
Oh, God. I'll be checking that
So-
one out.
I know,
So,
exactly.
Andrew-
I'm after your gig.
Yeah.
Funky mic, because you and I are both mic geeks. The
Yes.
MyLab VIP 50. Do you know of this mic?
Does it look like a dog?
It looks like a trapezoid, and it's got a rectangular
Yes.
diaphragm.
Yep. I've heard of that one. Yep.
Yeah.
Have you got one?
No, I don't own one, but I used to use one for probably 10 or 15 years, because that was before we switched to 41.6s. That was the mic at another country. And I'll tell you what, I had a lot of voice talent, especially when I did the Bud Light stuff. And the guy told me, he's like, what is the chain? I want that chain at home. And he just loved it. And it's like, it's funny, because I thought it's an okay mic. It's quiet. It's neutral. It's not like holy cow, but,
Is it the MA50 or the MA60?
I think they just reissued it. So the ones we had were the original ones. It's the VIP 50.
I'm sorry, VIP 50. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's a funky mic. The high pass filter is 400 hertz, but it's super gentle.
Yeah, like that's the U87 had like a 300
Yeah,
hertz.
but no,
So
no
what's the
weird
slope on that? It must be like a
super
gradual
gentle because
sort of-
you're right
yeah,
because it's just like a
upwards.
first order, no weird interaction at the cross point. That was the idea.
Yeah, here's that MyLab 50 at Zen Pro Audio, and it has a 500, 200, or flat roll off.
Yeah, that's I think ours was 400 was the lowest. I think.
Yeah, switchable pattern. So this mic is like their version of a U87, right?
Yeah, and I think back in
Multi-pattern.
the day they were $1,200. I think they've kind of gained a little bit of je ne sais quoi. Now they're
The
more
60
expensive.
is $3,500.
The 60,
for the
yeah.
VIP 60,
I mean,
yeah.
my lab, who's gone through some bankruptcies, they make some no messing around mics as well. But
Well, what were we talking about? We were talking about
Well, we were talking about shirt noise,
What
and
is-
this is what I wanted to ask AP, because we're talking about this. We've based this episode on. I got invited to go have a chat to a bunch of aspiring voiceover artists who were doing a voiceover school in Perth a couple of weeks ago. And one of the questions I got asked at the end was, you sort of said, look, you don't expect my home studio recording to be perfect because, as we sort of said, that's kind of nigh on impossible. But what is acceptable and what isn't. And we were talking just before you jumped on, Robert was saying that he had someone who had long hair and he was picking up shirt noise or hair noise from it
turn their
rubbing
head.
on their shirt with that microphone that he was just talking about.
Yeah.
And I mean, have you ever been told, take that shirt off, or can you take your watch
well, that's
off?
a different
or-
thing when they told him to take
Not
his
these
shirt
days.
off, right?
I mean, in the
Yeah,
past, I
yeah.
may have been asked to take the shirt off, but not anymore. But only by a doctor. But,
Or drop your pants.
Yeah, yeah.
Bend over. This won't hurt. I
Also
promise.
by a
Yep.
doctor, yeah. But no, I haven't, because I was quite aware of that because of radio, I think. Like you didn't sort of rattle around in the studio because, so be conscious, don't wear leather jackets, don't have clanky jewelry, and don't have like a puffer jacket and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And if you have
anything
long
that's
hair,
nylon.
whatever,
No, don't wear corduroy.
Yeah,
put your
that's
long
right.
hair up in a ponytail if you have to, if it's going to make noise,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. So, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever be able to quantify what is good enough. And that is something I would like to try to work on as from a technological standpoint. I don't know how to solve it, but it is something I would like to be able to help voice actors feel more confident. But I really think the only way to do it, as we alluded to earlier, was that they need a reference file.
yeah.
And they may not be able to do that at home. They might have to go book studio time, go to a reputable voiceover studio, not a music studio. Go to one where they record voiceover and get some recording samples of your voice, so you have a sample. Now you can keep that on your disk, on your desktop, whatever. And if you're just not sure, listen. Now you may not know why you don't sound like that. That's not as much of a concern to me. It's just that you'll know there's something off, right?
Yeah.
Then now when you know something's off, then you can like reach out to someone like me or any of us to go, hey, here's what's off. You're too far from your mic. Get closer, or something like that.
It's the same thing as mastering. When you're approaching a mix or a master, you don't just start turning knobs. You have to have an idea in your head of where you can take it, where it needs to sound, what it needs to sound like. And then you can start doing things to get it there. But if you just start turning knobs, searching for the sound, you're just going to take it someplace else without a destination.
Well, the interesting thing about mixing, though, is especially if you're talking about music, is most mixers will have a reference track that they'll actually listen to.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
The reference mix of the original mix, which was like something like of what the artist original thought. Yeah.
But
Or,
also, like
yeah.
a lot of mixers will, they pull all the faders down to start and then start introducing.
And start adding stuff.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
But I just wanted to say, George, I wanted to go back on something you said before we started recording, was when we were talking about you setting up rooms for people, is you're not actually looking for perfection either, because perfection then becomes almost in that AI vein of, my God, that's too clean.
I think that's a new thing where now if it sounds too good,
But it's relevant.
What is
though.
this,
It's very
AI?
relevant.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Well, that too good problem is not something that really comes much with just raw recording. That usually comes with too much editing.
Yeah,
And that's
true.
what I'm
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah.
Voice actors are editing themselves into an
Oblivion.
actual problem.
Yeah.
And it's part of it is just perfectionism, being worried that they're not good enough, and thinking that they have to do all this stuff in order for the audio to be usable, or it's just bad training, or they just never learned how to properly edit, or they think they should remove every single breath, and so they just delete where the breaths were, and now there's no space because the breaths are gone and it sounds weird.
Well,
the timing is off. There's all sorts of things that people do wrong without touching a single plugin. They can ruin their file by just bad editing, and that's another issue. So people need to know what good editing sounds
But please
like.
don't edit unless you're asked to either. I mean, that would be my 5 cents.
Well, when you say edit, I'm talking about literally like
I'm talking about cleaning
chopping
up.
out.
Yeah, I'm talking about
or like
cleaning
taking
up.
like a. Should a voice actor comp
No.
3 takes,
Not
comp
unless I
together
ask
the
you.
best 3?
Send me like normally if I'm put it this way, if I'm doing a session, and we were talking about this before, I don't always do Source Connect sessions. That's certainly my preference. But when we don't, I basically tell the voiceover artist, I want you to hit record at the beginning of the session and I want you to hit stop at the end. And then I just want you to send me that file.
Actually, you probably want to
anything
get them to
else.
hit save as well.
And save. Yeah. Save would be a good idea. Hopefully they know that part.
But it's funny. It depends. Like, so this morning, the reason I'm late is because I had a couple of sessions. So one was a self-directed one. So I just did a couple of promos, which I edit myself, comp together, send them off. And then the one I just did was a live session, directed session. So I just sent them the full file, untouched, gone, flipped.
Because that's easy, because then I've got everything. There's no possible need for me to come back to you for anything because I've got it all.
Yeah, and breaking news. We should do another episode on this because I made a discovery yesterday and I just did a whole session doing it.
That you have a lisp.
Yeah, you shouldn't fart during a session.
No,
is that
I've got a leaky vowel, but
Leaky valve.
no, but I used the Passport VO and phone patched into the comms and did the whole session.
Yeah, we think you're
you said
hallucinating.
this.
Yeah.
He made up the whole session. He
Well-
dreamt it.
Yeah,
This is
We'll
not
discuss
supposed to
that on
work. If
another
it
episode.
works
Yeah.
as a phone patch, then Apple's changed something now, and it's great that it does work because at first it couldn't
Yeah.
work.
Well,
Yeah.
it didn't work because I remember last year I tried when I was in Adelaide to do a session. I plugged the phone in and it just was like hashy
Garbled.
and garbled and weird.
Garbled. Like you can just about make out what they're saying, right? Like,
But this was
you can
absolutely
kinda-
perfect. In fact, the guy at the other end who was directing the session, I said, look, I'm just trying this. It could all go pear-shaped and die because by all accounts, this should not be working, but it is. He said, oh, it sounds great here. And he was monitoring his phone. And we did the whole session. That was 45 minutes or 40 minutes. Didn't miss a beat. It was perfect. So I did it all in the booth on the Neo with the Passport VO with the phone patch into the comms.
And which mic did you use?
41.6.
Dude, that's
And,
like
and
the
that's
ultimate-
without the software update from the Passport that has no software. So
Yeah.
That's right.
So
You never have to worry about the song.
go figure that one. But anyway,
Yeah.
it worked. I don't know why, but I don't care. I don't need to know why, but I do know it
new
works.
things to start testing. I have an older I have an iPhone 15 with older OS on it. So at some point I'll try upgrading the OS on it, and then I'll try that because maybe that's an OS thing. Maybe they changed something in the phone.
it's got to be.
app
I mean,
itself.
obviously, it's not the Passport that changed.
No.
No, you never have to worry about that. That thing's locked in time.
But
So that's cool to see. Well, I at the end of the day, I think knowing what it's supposed to sound like is a huge part of it. My old pal Dan Leonard used to say whistle, what it's supposed to sound like.
yep.
Put it all together, you get whistle. And so you need to know whistle. And once you know whistle, you can start remembering what, referencing that, listening to it. And when you move too far off,
I mean,
of
you can use a
whistle-
trick. So here's the trick that the music guys use. I go into a new room that I don't know the room, and boom, Ziggy Stardust. Pull up that album, listen to that album for 10, 15 minutes in that room. I know what that album is supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
Once I kind of get a feel for that album in that room, I can get an idea of whatever I'm mixing needs to sound like because I have a reference point. So it's
But what's the voiceover equivalent of that, though?
So I think the voiceover equivalent is get a recording of yourself that you know it's like maybe you went to a studio and got a proper
That's what I
good,
was saying.
Yeah.
and then go
Go
play
to a
it back.
studio, get
Yeah.
a good reference recording.
Yeah, and then
Book yourself.
For me, it's one song, and for me, it's Hotel California from Hell Freezes Over by the Eagles, because it's got some like bongos and stuff in it, so that gives me my highs, and then the bass is really nicely mixed. Whoever did it deserved, and so that's my bottom end reference, and everything else falls in between, obviously.
My first live sound gig, not working for like my family or something. I remember the guy was playing, I think it was Brothers in Arms, Dire Straits.
yeah, good.
And it was just like on the system, and he was tuning the PA at this venue. You know,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh.
PA guys do the same thing. They have their album that they know. They're going to listen to that in the room. Now I got an idea of what this room is like. Now I know how to take where to take this.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the first DDD recordings or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. You know, digital tape. Digital
Was Brothers in Arms all D along with Englishman in New York?
Yeah, yeah.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Sting.
Brothers in
Yeah,
Arms,
it's-
that might have been earlier than that,
Yeah.
but it's just a very high fidelity recording recorded by, don't quote me on the engineer was, like a Massenberg or some, you know.
Yeah.
It's the
'Cause
one with
Lady
probably
Riders-
most of their hits.
I've been on a road trip and listened to that album on repeat 5 times.
Sage and I just listened to that
all
whole
the way
album on
through.
the way up to
on
Tahoe.
repeat.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, damn, I'm hearing
You
that
kn-
song again, but
you know
I'll
what?
just keep listening. Yeah.
The Brothers in Arms tune, that'll bring a tear to your eye. It's
Yeah.
good song. Yeah.
Can I just say,
Well, anyway, you need that.
You know, the iPhone, I'm on an iPhone 15 and the iOS version is 18.5.
Oh, so am I. I didn't upgrade to because they went from 18 to 26 just to match the generations for Mac OS. So what that would have to mean is that Apple changed their own phone app software or protocol or something, because
They loosened up the phone app to be a little bit more accepting of third-party hardware than
Yeah.
don't know.
before
But
or
it's
something.
like, I'm telling you,
It's so useful.
The session was
big time.
flawless.
Can I ask you,
Flawless.
Yeah.
is there any chance that you were calling another iPhone?
Oh, was
I have
this
no
happening
idea.
over? Was it happening over? What's it called?
Or were you calling an office or like a commercial studio?
It was a radio station. The guy was actually working from home, hence the reason we jumped on and used the phone.
Could it have been a VoIP connection and not?
No, what I'm saying is, if you're all both on iPhones, when you called him or he called you, did he call you or call him?
He called me.
I bet he used FaceTime.
FaceTime. Yeah.
I bet anything. I bet he did a FaceTime call. Now, you
Okay,
don't
look.
have to open FaceTime to do a FaceTime call, but if you're in contacts and the other user is also iPhone, you can choose to make that call via FaceTime, and it will seem and feel like a regular phone call, but it's actually using FaceTime. So what happens is it's a VoIP call. It's voice over IP.
I'm not
You
sure.
won't know any different.
Yeah, because I'm normally I get it's something will tell me when I look at my
It
recent
should
calls.
say FaceTime call,
Yeah,
on
and
your
it's
recents.
not saying FaceTime.
Well, and it would have given you a video option too.
Yeah,
like
so
to turn your
definitely
camera
was-
on.
He received the call. He wouldn't have seen any different. It would have
No,
been
no, he would have.
I would.
No, it
yeah.
should show up as a FaceTime call still.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll, in fact, the ring is different when it rings. It's
It's
like
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Is that the don't?
no, it goes instead of like the
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
We're the effects guys.
yeah.
Oh man. Well, my theory out the window. But anyway, yeah, it will handle VoIPs all day long with whatever app you want to use. But for whatever reason,
but that was
phone calls.
well, that to me is like, wow, cool. That's very cool.
That is
That
cool.
makes it much more handy. That's
Oh.
for sure.
The fact is that I could.
one more reason you should get one.
Yeah, I mean,
if
like
you're
I'm playing with
lucky.
it again because I really just use it as like one mic in and into the computer. So doing this, then I've set it up so I've got the mic switch. I've got the 41.6, and then I've set up the 414 EB as mic 1,
Yep.
and then 41.6 mic 2. So I've got the choices there, but also having the phone patch is just. Man, and I was like yesterday. I was playing with my mate Pip. I rang him up and said, "Look, blah, blah, I would do some played back stuff. Perfect."
Yep. So
Well, guess who's saving a search in eBay for the Centrance passport? Because I'm going to keep an eye out if ever one shows up and try to get it.
Yeah.
Because those things are unobtainable.
They are
And
obtainable,
If you can
yeah.
find one, set up a search on eBay, for Centrance Passport, and if it pops up, snag it.
Yeah.
Because
It'll be interesting to see if those start selling for more than they originally went for, like the Max.
Yeah.
What was your second mic in the booth before you used to have the OC18 in there, didn't you?
Yeah, I've got, so if I'm working out here, then I've got the OC818 and the 416. And I've just got a radial, two mics in, one mic in, two outs. So I've got one out going into the Passport and one going out to the Mac Mini.
So Andrew, what kind of mic am I on right now? What does this sound like?
This is Robert's question in the morning.
Is this the one you're talking into or the one you're sitting on?
Yes, that's right. Well, I won't even make the crude joke I was thinking of. But no, the one I'm talking to you on right now. How does this? What kind of mic is this?
It sounds like a dynamic to me.
Yeah, it technically is a dynamic. What specific type of dynamic do you think this is? How do I sound? How do I sound?
I reckon it's definitely a dynamic.
In fact, I'll do this for you. Ready? Compared to this, how do I sound on this?
Oh, that's awful.
Compared to how do I sound on that?
That second one was the Sheps, I reckon, the headphone mic.
Yes.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's a $1,500 horrible mic.
Yeah,
and so,
that's right. You pay more to make it even worse.
Yeah, and so this
crazy.
one, what is Robert on right now? What kind of mic could this be?
I think it's like a drum mic.
No, it's a ribbon mic.
Ah.
It's a little $200
I know
ribbon
the
mic.
one. You showed me that. When we were on a call a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Royer ripoff.
No, it's not that one. That's a stereo mic. This is just this is Apex 10 or 205, I think. Yeah, Apex 205. It's just a $200 ribbon mic, and it was funny. Yeah, at the beginning of the session, I played, "What would you like, this or that?" And Robbo is like, "Definitely that." And not,
not that.
And do not give me this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's always, regen, but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is always regen.
You're gonna synthesize me.
That was, we were saying earlier, that's a threat.
Yeah,
That's a threat. If you're acting, it was like, if you don't give me better audio, I'm just going to regen
that's
you.
That's the new. You'll never work in this city again.
Yeah.
I'll regen you.
You're going to be regen, baby.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. Is it over?
The Pro Audio Suite, with thanks to Tribooth and Austrian Audio. Recorded using Source Connect. Edited by Andrew Peters and mixed by Robbo. Got your own audio issues? Just ask Robbo.com. With tech support from George the Tech Whittam. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and join in the conversation on our Facebook group. To leave a comment, suggest a topic, or just say g'day, drop us a note at our website, theproaudiosuite.com.